Hi everyone, it's me again. If you've been watching our kids' talks over the last 2 weeks, you know that we were looking at the story of Joseph. By now, I hope this phrase is really starting to get stuck in your heads. When things don't go the way they should, God always makes it work for good. And I find it really helpful just to keep this in my mind when things are going badly. Well, last week we saw that for Joseph, it didn't look like God was making things work for good at all. Things were truly awful for Joseph. But we're going to see in today's part of the story that God was with Joseph. So last week, we saw that Joseph being taken away from his family as a slave. And he ended up in Egypt, where a very important man bought him to be his servant. That's right, you heard me, he was bought. Now, I'm not sure if you've bought anything recently, but whatever it was, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a person. But in those days, that's how rich people got servants. They bought them. So who was this guy who bought Joseph? Well, he had a weird name. It probably wasn't weird back then, but to us, it sounds pretty weird. His name was Potiphar. Sounds a bit like Potiphar, like when you're bursting for the toilet, but it's too far away to get to. Anyway, let's forget about that. Potiphar was a very important man because he was the commander of the king of Egypt's army. He was one of the king's right-hand men, so he would have been very rich and very powerful. But what happened next to Joseph showed him that even though he had gone through a lot of really bad stuff, God was with Joseph. Just remember what Joseph had gone through. As a young man, he was attacked by his brothers, sold into slavery, taken away to a faraway country where he didn't even know the language, and then he was bought by someone. That's a lot of bad stuff to happen to one person. But just as we saw last week, God was with Joseph. And in Genesis 39, verse 2, it says exactly that. It says, the Lord was with Joseph. And then it goes on to say that because of this, Joseph became a successful man. God was with Joseph. He was right there helping him every single step of the way. And do you know what happened next? God helped Joseph to be so good at his job that Potiphar put him in charge of everything he had. Everything in his household, every last thing. And he was a rich guy, so that was a lot of stuff to look after. And so God helped Joseph to become a very important man in Potiphar's household. Joseph could see that God was with him. Now, a good thing to do after reading something in the Bible is to say, well, so what? What does this have to do with me? And that's a really good question to ask, because the story of Joseph isn't just an exciting story. It's in the Bible to teach us something about who God is, what he's done for us, and then how we are to live. And something important that we see in this part of Joseph's story is that God was with Joseph, and God is with us too. It's a very simple lesson to learn, really, but it's one that we so often forget. If you're a Christian, if you are a child of God, then God promises to be with you. And God doesn't give us promises without keeping them. When he says to us, I will never leave you, I will never abandon you, he means it. He will keep that promise. We've seen that the Lord was with Joseph, and the Lord is with you too. He's right by your side always, even when it feels like he's not there. This wasn't the end of the bad things that Joseph had to go through, as we will see next week. But Joseph was able to see how God was looking after him. We can know that God is looking after us.